Kings and queens, your majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning. Trust you and yours are well and you're loving yourself and others like always. Many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much. To our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you my esteemed subscribers, you loved, celebrated, and of course appreciated. So France has no money. France is sinking in debt. France is gradually crumbling into becoming the third world country. France, in the nearest future, will be worse than the Sahel. Yes, these are facts that you gather your evidences and put it together, and you understand what I'm saying. Remember the Italian military general who spoke about the recent happening in Europe, and he said that the way things are going, if they do not mend their ways, their sons and daughters will be running to Africa. I brought that information here. He called them out and made them saw the realities of the present time, of the present age. France never expected that there would be a time like this. France right now had to call down budget. The French government had increased taxes so that they can meet up. Life is hard, okay? The French people are protesting. We see just for the past days that there's a lot of protests going on, not just in France, in Germany, in Italy, in other parts of Europe. And these are people that had lorded it over the countries in the motherland. These are nations that claim to be up there, first world countries, okay? They do not lack, they have everything they need. We see how the citizens are going out protesting for the past week, for the past few days. We are beginning to see that Europe is finally falling. Now, like I keep telling you here, there is no sane human being that would be happy seeing a fellow human suffering in pain and dying. No. But this was the situation that they had wished for Africa and African countries. And at this time, we're beginning to see that it's gradually becoming their portion. And that is why in life, it's not good to wish evil to anybody because you don't know what is up there coming for you. If maybe 10 years ago they had told, the French people or told Europe that there will be a time like this where they'll be struggling to survive, you know, of course they wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't believe it. And the nightmare of the collective West, the nightmare of Europe, the nightmare of France started when the Sahel kicked them out. That was when their nightmare began. Even at that time, they still had hope because I felt like, though these guys are just acting up, by the time we sanction them, they will, they'll return back to their senses and they'll come crawling back to us, begging us because they believe that they have succeeded in brainwashing Africans into believing that without them, Africans cannot survive. And I tell you, this is the mentality of majority of Africans. Even at this time, I'm using the word majority because of recent happenings and some evaluation that I had carried out to see that a good number of Africans are still holding these people in high esteem. So when that happened, the Sahel meant business, but France was still sinking in their stupidity. Okay, I keep saying it here that they are like spoiled children. Why? Because they are always getting what they have. They never expected that there will be a time where just a little fraction from the continent will say no to them, and not just saying no to them, but dealing with them the way nobody had ever done. And even after the Sahel kicked them out, they still have hold on about 12 to 14 African countries, even up until this time. Okay? They still have hold. But the place where they were getting majority of the resources from, making their life better, was the Sahel. And that is why the Sahel was the poorest, because of the level of which they milked out of the Sahel. And now we're beginning to see that reverse is becoming the case, and a lot of things are changing. All right. And the truth is that the Frenchman who had, should I say prophesy or foretold or said beforehand that without Africa, France would gradually crawl into becoming a third world country. His statement has come to pass, not Jacques Chirac. Before Jacques Chirac, there was a man who said that. And it's becoming the truth, it's becoming the reality. And I keep telling you here that there are still puppet leaders in the continent that are willing to work with France. And that is why France still has hope. Now, the French people are not just, they are not even bringing themselves to realizing that it is over. They still feel like their government can do something. And this is the time that I want the Sahel nations to be very alert. African countries has to be alert and focus on the Sahel. Do not allow all this, distraction left, right, center. They know what they are doing. Now, the citizens are not, they do not even have it in mind that it's over, like I said. They believe that something can still happen. And that is why they are doing all they can, going against the government so that the government do something. And if the government will have to do something for their story to change again, they will have to rely on an African country. They'll have to destroy an African country. An African country had to go down for France to continue living in luxury. I hope you understand. Like I said, the French people have not realized that it is over. They still feel that there's a magic that can still happen. And this will push the French government into destroying one, two, or more African countries, like even getting so hard on the Sahel. When I say getting so hard, I mean deadly attacks on the Sahel. And this is the time that Africans have to pay more attention to the Sahel and other African nations that the French government have had hold on. Because something will happen for the French people to return back into the luxurious life that they have been living in. I will leave you with some of this information. So listen to it keenly. I will take it up from there, Your Majesties.
The actual quote: "Without Africa, France will have no history in the 21st century," was actually said by Francois Mitterrand in 1957. So those people that keep saying it's Jacques Chirac, it wasn't Jacques Chirac that said it. It was the guy before Jacques Chirac, Francois Mitterrand. He said it. Without Africa, France has no history. They're in the 21st century, which is where we are. We're basically saying they're going to go back to the third world. As you can see, anger over budget cuts. They're cutting budget because, and they're increasing taxes because Africa has cut them off. Their main source of income is gone. So now the retirement, look it up. They're going into their retirement. They have no money. France is the second largest economy in Europe, right? Okay. Right now, ask yourself, French people, what has France used to prop up its economy this whole time? What has France used to build the Champs-Élysées and all the... Africa said no. And remember, the French, what was it? There was a French general that made this video, said this. I'll find the video and I'll send it to you, and I'll make a video about it. He said, if they don't do shit right, within one generation, French people will be going to Africa as immigrants to look for work. It starts now.
So France is currently in crisis. France is broke. The national debt just passed $3.6 trillion, and that's equal to about 114% of its national GDP. And that number is currently crushing France. Now, after years of piling debt, the French government finally hit a breaking point. Prime Minister François Bayrou tried to slash public spending by $45 billion. He wanted to freeze pension, cut social services, even scrap national holidays. But the backlash was immediate, and Parliament voted him out, and the government collapsed. And President Macron quickly appointed Sébastien Lecornu as a new prime minister. But instead of calming things, he just poured fuel on fire. Now across the country, people have taken to the street under the banner "Block Everything." Roads have been blocked, trains and buses are shut down, police are clashing with protesters, fires, barricades, hundreds have been arrested, but nothing is stopping this protest so far. This isn't just about budget cuts. France is losing influence abroad, especially in Africa. Countries like Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Senegal are pushing back against French military presence and challenging the old financial ties. The CFA franc system, long tied to Paris, is now under pressure as African nations are pulling back. France risks losing markets, reserve, and leverage. So yes, France is broke. France is battling debt at home, losing power abroad, and facing millions of its own people rising against austerity. This is more than just protests in France. This is a sign of a nation slipping into crisis.
For your majesties, France is broke. And for some of you who feel like they're pretending it's not true, we can see that there are a lot of protests going on right now. And like I said, the people still believe that the government can change stories around. They can change things. They can do some magical happenings and things will just change magically. They are not aware that it's over. Okay? They do not, maybe they are in the denial that this is it. They knew that they felt like they can't just jump from being the first world nations where, countries, citizens from Africa run to just becoming a third world country. It's impossible. They have the money, they have everything, but where is their money and wealth coming from? This is what many French people do not know. All are coming from Africa because they will not tell them that they are exploiting nations to survive. They won't tell them that's what they're doing. So I believe majority don't even know because they look at Africa as some poor region that do not have anything within them. Third world dirty countries. This is how they look at the continent of Africa. Now, the reason why I said that we have to be vigilant is because of the fact that Macron is frustrated at this point and he can do anything to stabilize his government, to revive the trust that the people have for him. Macron will go to any length to do what he can do to stabilize the government. And when I say Macron can go to any length, I mean that Macron can do anything. Remember, when we're talking about the president of Guinea, Mamadi Doumbouya, how he was exposed, that there is, an airport in Guinea that is not on the map. And this airport is what receives French soldiers, and that a new military base was even created already. Now, this airport received, military equipment, push back against the side. In short, is working hand in hand with France. And I said it here jokingly that little wonder because he is the brother-in-law of Macron because the wife is a French woman. So this wife of his would not just sit down to see that his home country is falling back into third world nation and would not do anything. She would contribute because she was even in the French police. You understand what is going on? So definitely Macron will not just sit like that. He will use his assets in the continent to help him stabilize his nation. And of course, we are aware that Mamadi Doumbouya have properties in France. So there is a relationship, a cordial relationship. And that is why he is working with the president of Ivory Coast working hand in hand, of course, to destabilize the Sahel. And so I employ Africans, those of African descent, those who have Africa at heart, to pay more attention to the happenings in the Sahel. Because something will happen. There will be a heavy blow that will be inflicted on the Sahel, a heavy blow that will be inflicted on the African countries. They're going to use African countries for France to be stabilized, for France's economy to be stabilized, for France to regain herself. It means African countries going down. Your Majesties, it means African countries going down. And that's why I said it's time that we pay more attention to the countries in the motherland to see what is going on and understand better. I will leave you with this information again for those who have not seen it. Listen to it and leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section, Your Majesties.
They own a house, the president of Guinea own a house within a policeman camp in France as we speak today. That secretly they reallow French forces to enter Guinea, right? And they allow French forces to enter Guinea so they can organize coups and rebels against Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger.
Hey!
Right. It is very clear that Doumbouya, after my research and other, of course, activist comrades from France and from West Africa, it is very clear that the redeployment of the French system within West Africa right now use Ivory Coast and Guinea, right? And within Guinea they have rebels, and they even have what? A new military base. In the north of the country, there's a new airport that have been done in northwest of Guinea, where there is a lot of French plane that can land. But this airport doesn't exist on any map. On any map. We just see the plane coming, up, he's landing, he's going back. Where does he go? He goes to Togo. He goes at the border with Benin also. Because now Benin is also really close to the French, fighting Niger from Benin. So they deploy soldiers in Guinea. They inform them and they move them around Benin, Togo, especially Benin, because Benin is at the border. And from the border of Benin, they redeploy the imperialist tool within Niger itself, right? And if you remember well, Niger has captured also French Secret Service agents that and he told them, those guys have been to a military base in Guinea. We want to know what is happening there. The whole region is asking what is happening in that base. Why is it that there's French planes that come in and out, and then we don't know about those planes? Why is it that those planes don't stop in Abidjan or in Conakry or other international airport? What do they stop here? They stop here because they drop military material for spying and for organizing rebels and rebellions.